on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, live from Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue on Harvey Road in College Station. Welcome to Aggie Softball Hour with Trisha Ford. Brought to you by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Now, welcome to Aggie Softball Hour with Trisha Ford.
Well, howdy, Ags, and welcome to Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road. It is the second edition of the Aggie Softball Hour. Matt Simon with you. We got the head coach, Trisha Ford, Aggie Softball. We got a double dip of diamond fun tonight for the fans. We got softball, and following it, we got baseball. So we're a lot. You thought you'd get rid of us by not having a midweek game. You didn't have to see us for a change, but we're here.
We're here. I'm excited, yeah.
So, hey, welcome back home.
Yes, amen. Like, so nice. We're excited. Although we're going to have weather again a little bit this weekend.
We did that just for you.
Yeah,
we don't want you to, you didn't get to bring the desert stuff with you from Tempe. We're going to talk for the Aggie softball for the next hour. We have Coach Ford obviously here with us for the majority. We've also got Rylen, Wiggins, and Amari Harper in the house with us, and they will come up here and visit as well. Your Fighting Texas Aggies are 16-7. They are 2-1 in the SEC. Big-time series win this past week against Arkansas. We'll talk about that in a little bit. A&M in all three of the major polls, 13, 21, 24 are the rankings, and they've got a big one this weekend. The Aggies are hosting number 17 Georgia at Davis Diamond in the SEC home opener. But before that, we haven't talked with you on the show since I've talked with you a lot, but we have not talked on the show a lot since before the season started. You're 23 games in. What have you learned about this group over that stretch that maybe you didn't know coming into the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I've been really pleased with our bounce back. We've had some games that maybe didn't go our way, or, we didn't execute some things, and they didn't really let that affect them the next game. And I think that's a really good sign of a team that's starting to mature and grow and I don't know, just develop. And so I think that part has been really, a surprise, but a good surprise. I think the other thing is, like, they really enjoy each other. Like, I said this, earlier this week, like, we had to do some radio podcast or something, Matt and I, on the road, and we walk into the team room and there's like 12 of them, like, laughing and enjoying themselves, and I'm like, that's a great sign of a team that's really starting to come together.
And it is, if you think about it, it is kind of a young team. I mean, you've got even your veterans maybe playing new positions for the first time. You've got a couple, obviously, like a Julia Cottrell type, a Trinity Cannon type, but your entire pitching staff is essentially super young, and most of your position starters are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's the part that it's really important for us all to mesh, right? Like, us coming in as a new staff, them as a team, as a unit. We have a lot of new players, and I don't know, I'm just really happy with that progression on and off the field.
You've thrown a pretty wild schedule at them so far this year. I think 10 already ranked opponents through the first 23 games. You've got the top 3 in the poll. You've already played them as well. Was there a moment maybe in one of those games as you're building your program, as you want things to be the way you want them to be, was there a moment you said, we're starting to get this a little bit?
Yeah, I think it was the UCLA game. Honestly, the Palm Springs tournament was good for us, but really the UCLA game, and it's funny because we have Rylen here today, but like one of the things that this group was really yearning for was to play a tough non-conference schedule. And so, like, when Rylen and I first talked, when I took over the program, she really kind of is like, Coach, we need some challenge, before we start conference play, because then we get into conference play and it's like, oh man, here we are, and so I do feel like we're battle tested. We've played night games, we've played morning games, we've played the latest, the earliest, weather, in Eastern time zone next weekend, and West Coast. So I don't know. I feel like we've thrown everything at them and they've responded well. But that is also my message to them, is that we got to this place right now because we put our heads down and worked. Like, don't listen to everything else that's going on. Like, and I say this with love, like, we're not that good. Like, we can't just show up and expect to win. Like, we got here by us working. And so, like, let's celebrate in June. But right now, like, how are we getting better? How are we going to work? And how are we going to beat Georgia?
Yeah, and even as you go back and look at some of those games, an Oklahoma game, you might see 8-0, and you go, oh, well, they weren't really in it. Or Oklahoma State, 8-0. Well, but there were little moments early in both of those and multiple others where as you're trying to teach and kind of mold, you can say, hey, see this right here? If this goes the other way,
100%.
then we're right there in the game.
Yeah, and if you look at those earned runs, and especially the Oklahoma and UCLA games, I mean, we're one swing away from tying it up if we can, tidy up some things on other ends. And so that's that was really cool to see them be like, oh, well, you can play with anybody. I'm like, absolutely. Like, we have the pitching, we have the ability, like, especially with bat technology, right? Like, get a couple people on and, like, a big hit comes. And you saw it on Sunday. And I was really excited for Sunday just for them to kind of, like, get that monkey. Because we've been, honestly, struggling to get a lot of crooked numbers offensively. And our pitching, has held us. But I was really excited for Sunday because I felt like our plan on Friday, we didn't execute it, and they bounced back and really took advantage of it on Sunday.
I think we're going to have a tape of this because you actually talked about hitting before you talked about your pitchers, and we'll have to let Coach Harger know that. We'll have to know that.
It won't happen often.
No, but we've got that on tape. But let's brag on the pitching staff and what they've been able to do here. Again, still a pretty young group. Emily's just a sophomore. Both Emilys are sophomores. Yeah. And Shaylee is, Preston, 3 years since she's thrown, and Shaylee is a senior, but it's her second year pitching. So what have you seen out of them and the growth and the maturity that they've had on the young year?
Yeah, I think all of them, I've just been really just happy with them. We've cleaned up a lot of things from a mechanical standpoint and biomechanically. And so I think them understanding that, they can really, like, buy into it. And Shaylee, like, her being healthy up to this point is, like, a minor miracle, Mm-hmm. And so, but we've cleaned everything up. And, like, her and I were talking today in the bullpen. I was like, Shay, like, she's like, I feel good. Like, she wants to, hit again. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, risk versus reward. But, she's somebody that's really starting to develop. She's kind of finding her mojo. When you can get pitchers to kind of find their mojo, you got good stuff. Preston, she hasn't pitched. She had a kid. And then she's out there giving us, great innings. Emily Kennedy has been strong all year long, like, just lights out. Yeah, she had a little bit of a bump on Friday, but she's going to bounce back, and that's what I told her. And, a lefty that throws 70, like, sign me up, So, mm-hmm. And then, obviously, Levitt. Like, Levitt's come in some really crucial situations. We call them high-leverage situations. And she's just been lights out. And, my thing is, like, just keep working, keep your head down. Like, let's, this week we worked on a couple of sequencing things that I think we could tidy up. But I'm just really, really happy with their work ethic, their focus, and really their confidence that's starting to come along of, like, I am good. I'm like, absolutely. Like, you are able to execute. I think our pitchers know, like, what their zones and what their ball does. And I think that helps them kind of feel confident in those stressful situations. Yeah,
I was going to say, for people that maybe didn't catch your press conference yesterday, it's on our Aggie Athletics YouTube channel. I thought it was fascinating because you went into not specifics on opponent, but you went into detail about how you decide you're going to attack the opposing team's hitters. And you talked about how your pitchers have bought into that, to where Absolutely. If I'm not pitching in this game, it is not because I had a bad outing in this game. It's because this gives us the best chance to win, and I need to be ready to come in at this moment.
Yeah, you got a little taste of my nerdy brain in that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're right there with you.
But yes, we talk about this a lot of, like, okay, like, this is the part of the lineup press that you're going to do really good because of their swing path. Like, okay, Levitt, you're going to come in these situations. And really this past weekend, our goal is to not have Levitt be seen a lot until really Sunday. And so my goal was to not have her, really working 3 times through the lineup, but only doing that once on Saturday and then obviously on Sunday. And so, because she honestly matched up the best against Arkansas. And so obviously all of them are capable, and you saw that, but it was really like, okay, let's, Kennedy, you could do X, Y, and Z, and we were good. And then Preston came in. And then Saturday, obviously, the plan was to have Shaylee start that game, and then Levitt obviously came in and finished, but she only got 1 time through the lineup. So it was kind of like our plan. So then that left us for Sunday. So I went to Preston and I said, Press, I just need you to get 1 time through the lineup. I need them to only have seen Levitt for 2 times on Sunday. And so then I told Kennedy, like, hey, you're our bridge if we need it between Preston and Levitt early on. And then if we need it, if Levitt, something didn't go right, then I had Grace and I still had Shaylee. So kind of like knowing where we are in the lineup is really important to me, because different hitters, lefties and righties, like down ballers, up, flat swings, they're going to line up differently for our pitchers. So now I can talk pitching.
Yeah, I know.
So that's kind of where my head goes.
That's why we got a whole hour to do it. We are just getting started here on the Aggie Softball Hour, featuring our head coach, Trisha Ford. A little bit later, we will talk with Rylen Wiggins and Amari Harper. And then when we come back, I definitely want to dive into that Arkansas series, because that was a big-time series win for your Aggies. Softball and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy smokes all their meats using delicious signature rubs and 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. Back with more of the Aggie Softball Hour after this. This is Aggie Softball from Learfield. Whether your team is home or away, T-Mobile has Texas A&M covered from coast to coast. Fans are getting more coverage and incredible value as T-Mobile brings 5G to hometowns across the SEC. Switch now. Make T-Mobile your hometown network. Welcome back to Rudy's. It's the Aggie Softball Hour featuring Trisha Ford. And a reminder again, once we're done, Jim Schlossnagle will be here, and the Aggie Baseball Hour will get you through the rest of the evening. Aggies go to Arkansas this past weekend, 7th-ranked Razorbacks, two-time defending SEC champions, and win the series. There's a lot of notes that go along with this series, a lot of firsts, last times, second road series win in the last 5 years, second road series win ever against a top 10 SEC opponent. You don't, I would assume, want to make too much of one weekend. But, as you're starting to build the program, how big would it be that maybe this happens on the first of the weekends and it happens away?
Yeah, I think all of them are big, to be honest with you, especially as we start conference play. But I think it was important for us to start off on the right foot. And Friday, I had a coming to Jesus talk with myself and didn't get a lot of sleep, but that's okay, right? But it was a good, I don't know that it's ever good, but you got a good punch. We got punched in the stomach. And so it was like us as a coaching staff, we reassessed some things, we talked to the team. And really, I feel like that communication piece is huge, right? If I stay stagnant and if I keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, that's insanity, right? Which we are a little insane doing this, but that's all right. But I think, for us, it was really them of taking a deep breath, okay, come on, we've played, the number 1 team, the number 2 team, the number 3 team, we're going to be fine. And so, I don't know, I feel I was really, really happy with that series, but honestly, us as coaches, I'm okay, I want more. Okay, what's next? Let's keep this consistent. I think once we start to show that we can be consistent, which I know we can, then I feel like I'll be in a better place.
Yeah, because you talked about getting punched. You don't always want that as a coach, but again, as you're developing and growing, it probably is good for you to get a read on kind of where people are at, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think the other thing that we talk to them about is listen, 5 runs in our game is really not that much, especially in the first inning. You put a couple runners here in this inning, you put a couple of runners in this inning, and that was kind of my message to them is as we grow and get better, and we progress, as a group, that's what I really want. I want them to look at 5 runs and be whatever, that's not really a big thing. Let's put put a couple here, couple here, couple here, because really after that there wasn't anything exciting happening. So that was kind of my message.
We talked a couple times over the weekend that there were these interesting moments to me that you can't see them in the box score, but Saturday and Sunday, and specifically very early in both of those games, there were opportunities for Arkansas to throw another punch at you right after you had just gotten run ruled. But you didn't bend. You didn't break. Well, you bent, but you didn't break. But how proud are you of those little games within the game that they were able to win and then start to kind of play with them?
Absolutely, and that's kind of, and we've talked about this, in our dugout we have, we call it the goal chart, but it kind of breaks up the game into different categories, and what these, things do is they directly correlate to how we win softball games, how Texas A&M, Aggie Softball, how we win softball games. And so we kind of went back to those, our core, right, our core values about how we play. And I think the other thing is when we got tested on Friday and didn't respond well, but we got tested again on Saturday, and we really, we stood our ground. And that's the part that I was really, really impressed with is no, this is not happening again. And Saturday's game was a stressful game. I mean, it's, it's one swing away, and that ballpark, the ball flies. I mean, you hit a pop fly and it goes out. You know, Trent's ball though was crushed, and same with Mo's. But anyways, I was really happy that you couldn't really tell, like we were just playing the game, and that part to me, that's when the fun stuff happens.
Yeah, and then you go to Sunday, and I talked with Coach Harger, our hitting coach, Saturday afternoon or whatever it was, Saturday evening, and I'd asked him, because you're facing the SEC pitcher of the year again, who allowed only 3 hits on the Friday game, and I'd asked him, I said, what did she do? Because it didn't feel like she dominated the lineup, but couldn't score off her. And he says she gave us stuff to hit. We just didn't swing at the stuff we should have swung at. And he's like, I think we got a really good plan against her. Well, you come out on Sunday, and again, Cannon home run, Morgan Smith home run, and just turned the table completely over on her. You talk about adjustments as a young team. That had to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, Sunday surprised me, and I think I talked to you about that, just because I thought it was going to be maybe a back and forth or a tight game again. And I was like, this is good stuff right here. Like, we punched and we kept punching and kept punching. And I think 4 or 5 of those runs were scored with 2 outs. I mean, that's huge, And so, I don't know. Sunday kind of showed me, hopefully, the direction that we're going, of just like relentless pursuit of like putting people away. I mean, I felt like everybody top to bottom of our lineup was, we had good at bats. Valentine tore it up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
It felt like good energy too, at least from where we were upstairs. It felt like there was a good energy and a good vibe, and I thought once you got up maybe 3 or 4 to 1, I was like, we're not losing this game.
Yeah, you could kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And I love the feeling of when we're on the road and it's silent. I'm like, this is the best. And we kind of fed on it. Like, our team, it was kind of cool. They enjoyed the silence. So.
For you, maybe it's a little early to ask you this question, but, going through the Pac-12, that league up and down and sideways. You've done it for 6 years. Week 1 of the SEC, I don't know how much you got to kind of see around the rest of the league. Early impressions of the conference. And again, maybe it's too early. Maybe we haven't seen enough teams yet.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I just think like anybody can beat anybody, but I felt like that was the case. I think winning series is really important. You might drop 1, but winning series is always going to be, what our goal is, and still developing, like getting people's, not using one pitcher for, all day Friday, all day Sunday, so that we can, at the end of the year, like still get out there and compete at a high level. So being able to do that, our outfield is kind of still switching around a little bit. So I would like to at some point kind of settle in that spot, but, we're going to give kids opportunities. So we'll go with it.
Yeah. I know got a great crowd here tonight, and I'm sure they can't wait to get to watch you play in person. But are you happy in a way that you didn't have a midweek this week to kind of catch your breath a little bit after that trip and all the road games that you played so far?
100%, yeah. Because from here on out, we pretty much have a midweek, but it was kind of on purpose. Of just like, it was intentional of like, okay, first road series, first home, like let's like get our feet underneath us, let's get going, and then then after that it's kind of like Groundhog's Day, right? You get up, you go play softball, you get up and go play softball. But yeah, it was good.
We'll talk about Georgia near the end of the show specifically as an opponent, but being back home, being at Davis, it's wild to me to think that we've only had 7 home games this year, because it's usually the complete flip opposite. But the crowds have been fantastic,
oh my gosh,
in the home tournament and then the midweek against Houston. How big does the crowd play in? Because, Arkansas is known for one of the best crowds in the entire country, but you were able to kind of overcome them the last 2 days. How big is the crowd, and how big will the 12th man be this week for you?
I think it's huge. Like I always, like when I meet our season ticket holders or anybody that comes to games, I'm always like, let's make this place hard to play. Like I want visiting teams to not enjoy, I think it's huge, honestly. And I'm, I always talk about, I'm a little spicy. I'm a little, got a little sass in me. So I want us to, and that's why I feel like I fit with Texas A&M, because I feel like, when I came here and on my interview, it was the best interview. I always tell Jeff Toole, like, I love baseball. So Schloss has been wonderful to me, but that was my interview. I got to go to a baseball regional game. I'm like, yes, like, absolutely. But I loved the environment. And he looked at me, Jeff did, and he's like, this is what softball could be like. If you put a good product on the field, this is what it's going to be like. And I'm like, 100%. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I felt like he knows how I'm wired. And, like, I love that environment. I love the collegiate level.
Yeah, and the Aggies are home this weekend against the 17th-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Fridays at 5, Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 1. Friday, Youth Aggie Script Shirt giveaway. They're giving away St. Patrick's Day buttons. Also, weather permitting, it's going to be really windy, but weather permitting, fireworks after the game. Sunday, by the way, Military Appreciation Day at Davis Diamond. Active duty military personnel will be recognized on the field pregame. If you do not have tickets, if you're active duty, you can request free tickets at vettix.org. Also, after the game, kids run the bases, and they get to meet the Aggies up on the concourse signing autographs. All that's going on this weekend as the Aggies host Georgia at Davis Diamond. We'll take a break. We'll have more of the Aggie Softball Hour with Trisha Ford after this. Coming up, we'll talk with a couple of our players. That's when we return to Rudy's. This is Aggie Softball from Learfield. Our friends at 44 Farms invite you to enjoy their premium all-natural Angus beef by visiting 44steaks.com. 44 Farms, the official beef of Fighting Texas Aggie Athletics. We're back at Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. It's the Aggie Softball Hour with our head coach, Trisha Ford. Thanks for joining us here in the restaurant, also on the zone here locally, and then those of you watching us on Facebook as well. Joined by our next, do we call them victims when we bring them up here?
Pretty much.
When
yes.
Coach just says you're up, you're coming
up,
in?
Yeah.
Rylen Wiggins, Aggie's junior third baseman, is joining us. Thanks for coming to hang out today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'll bribe her with free food. That's usually
I know that's always how you can get it.
Yeah, that's how we can get the athletes to come in.
It worked today.
It worked today. Perfect. I love it. Hey, congrats on the start to the year. I know it's a long road, and you didn't win as many games as you want, but how exciting, how proud are you of kind of what you guys have been able to do here in the first month or so?
I'm very excited. I think being a new team and having half new players, a whole new coaching staff, we're really meshing together very well. We get along incredibly well, and I'm very excited to be a part of a team that just plays the game and loves each other while we do it.
I think you were in that little group of people that were in that room when we were talking about it in the hotel the other day. But that matters, doesn't it? I mean, I think I talked to you about it that weekend. Is that getting along with, being friends with all of them, and as you're competing and trying to win championships, that matters.
Oh, 100%. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't like each other and you don't get along, you're not going to play the game as a unit.
Yeah. All right, I need to ask you, as one of the returners on the team, first impressions of Coach when you first heard that you were getting her, or maybe the first time you met her. What were some of the first things that you can share in a PG-rated public setting?
The first thing I remember about Coach is actually emailing her when I was trying to be recruited as a sophomore in high school and hearing nothing back from her, which is fine, but she stuck with me now. So when we had our first phone call, I was really excited. She reminds me a lot of my select coach, and I really enjoyed him. He was the type of coach that I really meshed with, and I knew from the start we would get along really well, and so far, so good, I guess. We still got a long season, though, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're like, it's early. It's not even March 5th, or it's March 15th right now.
Yeah.
What about you? First impressions of Rylen as you guys come here, you're evaluating the roster and kind of deciding where you want to put people. What were some of the first impressions?
Yeah, I don't know. I was really engaged with her. Like, I felt like we clicked right away. And I still feel that way. Like, her and I have a special relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I told her she could be one of my kids. Yeah, I'll take her. But the other thing, though, is she kind of emerged as somebody that was a voice of the team. And so for me, it was like, okay, she's somebody that I need to make sure that, like, she's going to be key in my transition. Because if our relationship isn't good and she's kind of somebody that's talking, with the team when we got into Zoom calls, like, that's going to be rough. And luckily, we're kind of wired the same. We're very similar.
So,
yeah. So I felt good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never asked you this, but I'd be curious because my impression of you, I felt like as a sophomore last year, I felt from the outside you were a little more reserved, maybe a little bit quieter, but I've noticed a leadership just kind of taking a switch and just throwing it here. You seem so out there, out engaged, talking a lot. Did you flip that switch at all? Maybe when you went from a sophomore to a junior, is that just kind of am I just kind of misreading that a little bit, or what's your general thought on your leadership and how that's improved over the last year?
Well, I feel like I've always been somewhat of a leader. Like, even in select ball, I was always the loudest person on the field. I do feel like with this coaching staff, I'm a little more confident and comfortable with the player that I am, so I do have the ability to be more of a leader. And being an upperclassman and the girls in my class, we all push each other very hard, and we're literally best friends, so, I mean, that helps along a lot as well.
What has it been like to play for her through this first month or so as as they're kind of trying to get things the way they want them to get it? What's that journey been like for you?
It's definitely different. It's very challenging. I said this in an interview earlier in the season. We never leave practice 100% satisfied, and I think that's a lot of what you need. You can never be true satisfied with how you're performing. You need to always look for something to improve on, and every day in practice we're challenged and we work on the little things that will make us better as a unit and as individuals.
Your journey always fascinates me because I feel like you've always had a team first, whatever I need to do to get on the field and help my team attitude. As a freshman, you started, I think it's short, the entire season. Then the sophomore, the entire season you're at second base. Now you're at third base, and really to me, the leader of that infield defense. What's it been like, your journey, as you've kind of maneuvered around the infield?
I kind of pride myself on defense, so I'm really, wherever they need me, I'll go. I have no issue with really any part of the infield. I just love being on the dirt and playing for my team, and anything that I can do to help them, I'll do. I'm going to be honest, transitioning to third, it was a little scary at first. I've never been on a corner, so learning to just take balls like that, the way I took one off the shin this weekend, was a little rough, but it's part of the game. It's exciting. And I've learned to really love it a lot. I kind of think I like it a little more than the middles, so I'm excited to continue playing there.
I was about to ask you what the biggest difference is, and it's got to be that, right? It's got to be the speed of the ball coming at you.
For sure, reaction time.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that a little bit, but it'll come.
You did get an assist on that play, technically.
I did.
Yeah.
Did they even give me one?
They should have. If not, I know exactly who we're going to ask about that in the back of the room there in a minute.
You should see the bruise on my leg. It'll show you what kind of assist it was.
Tell me about the Arkansas series. How proud are you of the way that you guys, because we talked about it earlier, got punched in the gut hard in that first inning on Friday. It's a very quick game. You got to get on the bus. The bus is quiet going back to the hotel. Game 2, you guys come out, get it done. Game 3, how proud are you of the way that the team kind of fought back big time there?
I'm very proud of ourselves. I think after that first game, we kind of had to talk as a team, and we were like, we really just need to put runs on the board for our pitchers. Our pitchers are doing their best. They're working their butts off, and they're really performing to do what they can. Yeah, they got a little beat up on Friday, but it happens to everybody. Every staff gets beat up sometimes, and if we're able to put runs on our board, it leaves more pressure off of our pitchers. So I think as a team, we got together and we decided that. We had a little talk with some of our coaches, and we just came together and realized that we need to do more for our pitching staff and as a unit on defense and everything. And I think we really showed that we could on Saturday and on Sunday.
Trisha, how big is that when for the players to sort of self-initiate some things, not just all of the noise sort of coming from the coaches?
Yeah, I'm going to brag a little bit about Rylen. I challenged her a little bit when we first took over, because in our system, seniors are not our leaders, it's our juniors. Seniors, I want them to enjoy their last year. I want them to be seniors and kind of show freshmen and help them along. But juniors are kind of our regulators. And so I went to Rylen, and we had, just some freshman things of couldn't get to things on time and wear the right clothes and, typical freshman things. And Rylen really took the team under the wing. And that's what I'm seeing. From the get-go, she was the voice of the program. And I think from her, if you hear, when you come to a game, Rylen's the one calling timeouts, Rylen's the one calling coverages. And so I think it's important, even Rylen, when she is not doing what her best in the box, she's out on the field, and you can't even tell what kind of game she's having. And that to me is a true image of a team player, but also a professional, right? And she calls people out if hey, let's bounce back, here we go, right now, let's go. So I think it was really huge for her this weekend to kind of huddle them together. I'm sure it was you and Trin would be my guess, but and just say hey, let's get this together. This is not who we are. This is not our brand of ball, and refocus.
You talk about priding yourself in defense. In the Saturday game, it's a 2-0 ball game. You guys turned not one, not two, 3 double plays and almost got a 4th double play. I got to think for you that is a whole lot of fun, especially when that double play pulls you off the field and ends the inning, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I love a good double play. Everything about a double play is fun. And just being able to really get one of each. I got one, Coco turned one, Amari turned one. It's really fun and exciting to see what we can do as an infield when we really do just act efficient. It's really fun to get people off the field.
I think the other thing, though, we talked about, I'm totally butting in, but
that's fine. It's your show. Your name's on it. You're
but
good.
the reason we were able to get some of those double plays is because our outfield played the ball really cleanly off the wall. So Keely Williams, there was a ball hit to the wall. She made a great play, great read, and kept the girl off of second base. So if we don't do that to set up the double play, then the double plays don't exist. And so it's us having those conversations as a unit of like, look at, because she did X, that led to us getting off the field and doing a double play. So everybody has a piece to that, for us getting off the field.
Yeah. Last one, I'll let you get off the stage here. You talk about having fun at home this weekend, Georgia. Your experience at Davis has been an interesting one with the pandemic and the reduced crowds. But then last year, that place, when it was full, was an amazing atmosphere. How much fun is it to play at Davis for you? How much fun is it to have that whole crowd cheering for you guys? And then knowing that this year, with those large crowds, that kind of do some special stuff there.
It's completely electric. I love being at Davis. Traveling is fun, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like home. We obviously have the best field in the country, so that helps a little bit as well. But we have an amazing fan base. They're great supporters, and having record crowds, like you said, last year was kind of really shocking for me. I've never played in front of that many people before and in that kind of environment. So I'm really excited to see what can happen this year. I know a lot of people are excited to see how we do in conference, and with all the new moving pieces that we have, a lot of people are really excited and interested. So I think we can expect a lot more crowds just like that.
I lied. One last fun question. Can you spin it? Can you get on the mound and throw a little bit? You think she'd let you?
I've been asking for years, but I don't know. Maybe we'll have to start with some VP.
You never know. She's always looking for some arms there.
If she needs some relief, I'm always there, Coach. Okay. I got you.
All right, Rylen, appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Rylen Wiggins, everybody, here as the Aggie Softball Hour continues. When we come back, we will talk with Amari Harper. When we return to Rudy's Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road. This is Aggie Softball from Learfield. While you're cheering on the Ags, let ABC take care of the house when it comes to making sure your home is safe from rodents, rats, and mice. It's nothing but net with ABC. A proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics, ABC Home and Commercial Services are specialists for your environment. This is the Aggie Softball Hour featuring our head coach Trisha Ford. A&M back home this weekend, 5 p.m. on Friday, 5 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday against the Georgia Bulldogs. We also have a midweek on next Wednesday, a week from tonight against Louisiana Tech. Come on out to Davis and support the Aggies. And one of the Aggies that you'll be supporting is sitting right here. We coaxed her up onto the stage here. Amari Harper, thanks for hanging out.
Took a lot to get me up here. So.
The free food.
Yeah, it was definitely the free food.
Yeah. See, so. we know how they're way to their heart. Yeah. That's for sure. Amari is a freshman out of Corona, California. She is your starting second baseman. What's it been like for you? I mean, obviously at the level you played in club ball and all that, you played a lot. You started all the time. But what's it like for you to step into a Division I SEC program and from the get start at second base? What's that been like?
I'd say at first it was definitely surreal. It was crazy. And, I've grown up watching some of these girls play, and now I'm playing against them. So it was something that I had to kind of, take a step back for a second and be like, whoa, I'm at that level. This isn't rec ball anymore. This isn't travel ball. But I think in the past couple of weeks, I've been playing this game for how long? And these are girls that I've a lot of the freshmen, I've played against them, I've played with them, so I think I've kind of become a little more relaxed and I'm just playing the game at this point.
That's something I always forget as I get older, Trisha. Here's a kid who, what are you, 18?
18, yes.
So you're 18 and you're playing, you watch the World Series every year, so you step on the field with UCLA, and there's, Megan Faramo in the other dugout, or there's, Nicole May pitching for Oklahoma, or there's all these names of famous players that you've kind of looked up to as a little, that's probably something you have to kind of overcome a little bit too, right? And kind of put that aside.
Yeah, and when we went to Palm Springs and even just seeing them warm up, I'm just oh my gosh, it's so surreal. It's kind of like a fangirl moment where I'm oh my gosh, I'm on the same field as them. Like, they're pitching against me. Like, I just hit off Nicole May. Like, that's crazy. So it was definitely like a big shock, but also like it's been one of the best experiences ever.
For you, you committed a while ago, I believe, in Texas A&M.
Yes, I committed when I was a junior.
When you were a junior.
Yes.
So coaching change happens. As you're trying to decide, is this where I want to play? Is this where I want to go? What kind of helped make that decision? Maybe some of your first early impressions of Coach when you first got to meet her.
I mean, I did know Coach a little bit before.
We recruited her.
Yeah, they did recruit me. So going in, I didn't second guess anything. And for me, I loved the school too. So Aggieland for me, I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. This doesn't change anything for me. I'll just have to adapt to the coaching style and what they need. So it's been a great experience. And Harger coached against me when I was like 10, 12, 13, when he was with the Dirt Dogs. So this coaching staff, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. They know me. I know them. It's a great experience, and I love them so much.
Well, I was going to ask you that, too, and you just kind of answered it. Coming from California to Texas, and you talk about how much you've enjoyed the school. What's that experience been like for you? Obviously, this is your freshman year of softball, but you were here all fall. Got to be the Aggie student and kind of experience that. What's Texas A&M been for you over the last 9 months or so?
Oh, it's amazing. The Aggie network is ridiculous. Everyone's an Aggie. Everyone loves being an Aggie. Like, it's incredible. And I think just the culture of the school and like this real Aggie spirit, it's just so much fun to be here. And it's been so easy adjusting from being so far away from home and not having a lot of people like being able to come see me a lot, and which is great because my parents are coming this weekend, so excited for that. But it's been a great adjustment, and people here have been super nice and really friendly.
Did they get to see any of the home tournament? They come to the first tournament?
Yes, they did. Yeah, so they came to the Palm Springs one.
Trisha, talk about Amari and kind of what she brings to the team and the kind of player she is out there on the field.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about Amari is her fall season was rough, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I was on her 24/7. Like every time we had a meeting, it was like Amari, 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 Amari.
Mm-hmm. And my name came up a lot.
Yeah. And I said, listen, like in my world, if I'm coaching you hard every day, that's because I know what you are capable of doing. I said, when I don't say your name and we don't like interact, then you should be worried. And she's like, oh, well, you must really like me. Yeah. And so I challenged her, and we were kind of teasing a little bit, but I challenged her, like, she's a very quiet, very nice human, which I love that, but not on the field. And so, I challenged her, like finding her voice, playing the game hard, being a little rougher around the edges. And she's really, really, like today I was sitting in the meeting today and I almost said something. We were watching film and Coach Harger complimented you twice.
He never does that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's literally never happens.
Yeah. And I was like, Amari, we've come so far. Like we've had meetings in the fall where I was like, what are you doing? And now, we're praising her. And really it's a testament of Amari putting in the work, right? Like her putting her head down, like understanding things, studying the game outside of just practice. And I mean, we talk as a staff. We're getting everything we possibly can out of Amari Harper. Like, she's doing a tremendous job.
For you, and the same kind of thing I asked Rylen, you've played the UCLAs, the Oklahomas, the Oklahoma States this year, but SEC play, it's just different because it's conference play. Your first experience in SEC play wasn't a good one, wasn't a fun one on Friday night, but how proud are you of the way that you guys punched back in a big way? And as she said, loves to keep those road stadiums silent, but how proud are you of the way that you guys fought back on the weekend?
I'm insanely proud. And I think we, each of us came together, as just the girls of the team, and was like, we need to take this very personally and don't let it be a statement to how our season's going to go. And even just the first series, we can't let this be how it's been the past couple of years. We need to definitely change it and change our approach and things. So I remember talking with Rylen and Allie in the hotel room that night or that morning. I believe it was that night. And Allie was like, oh, we're going to win today. She was like, I have a feeling we're going to win. I was like, oh, yeah. So I think just bringing that mindset of yes, we're going to win. We can compete. We can do this. I think it's going to help us a lot this season.
I'm not asking you this just because she's sitting back there, but as a freshman, as you step into the SEC, your two corners are the veterans, the juniors. How much have you leaned on their leadership and their experience and expertise as you're trying to kind of find your way? I mean, obviously you know how to play the game, but as you're trying to find your way through this level of softball.
Oh, so much. And I think definitely in the fall Rylen was someone I looked to because I've never played second base before, and obviously she bounced between the corners the past couple of years. So I was like, right, how do I do this? What do I do when I do, like, what is my positioning supposed to look like? How do I get to this ball? What did you do? And I think Trin being on that side has definitely helped be a voice in my ear, like a voice in my head and in my ear to where it's like, Amari, you're doing that wrong. Not in a bad way, but like, Amari, don't do that. Amari, get to this ball this way. So they've definitely been big sisters and leaders to me on the field.
How much fun is it for you to play in Coach Harger's offense, specifically maybe the aggressive approach that you guys take, not just at the plate, but even on the base paths? You know, you're going to get thrown out from time to time, but you're going to make them make a play. How much fun is that to play? It's
been a lot different, but it's been fun because I'm not as aggressive as he wants me to be. I've been working on it. I really have. But I think it's a big adjustment for me, but it's been incredible, especially to see my teammates take that approach and their success in that. So it's been a great season so far.
And then just finally, how excited are you to finally be back at Davis and to play an SEC game in front of the 12th man?
Oh, I'm so grateful. We've been on the road for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So being back at Davis is it's a whole different experience. It's one of the best, it's like one of the greatest things ever, and I love being there and just the environment and the fans, and it's really home. So I feel so comfortable playing there, and I'm really excited for this weekend.
All right, we'll have fun this weekend.
Thank you.
We'll be out there for sure. Amari Harper, everybody, thank you for coming to hang out with us here on the Aggie Softball Hour. All right, we will take a break, and we'll come back to Rudy's to wrap this one up. This is the Aggie Softball Hour with Trisha Ford from Learfield. This copyrighted broadcast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by Texas A&M University. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the express written consent of Texas A&M and Learfield. Announcers are provided by Learfield and Texas A&M University. Wrapping up the Aggie Softball Hour with Trisha Ford. The Aggie Baseball Hour will be on deck, so stay tuned for that one across the network as well. Jim Schlossnagle will be in the house shortly. Georgia coming to town. The Bulldogs come in 20-6. They also won their SEC series, coming from behind to do so in Athens. Seem to be very offensive-heavy ball club.
Absolutely. They're going to come in there and take some healthy hacks, and they have a little bit more experience, I would say. Arkansas was kind of rebuilding, right, and they lost some of those hitters that have been kind of iconic through the middle of their lineup. They still have a couple pieces, obviously, but Georgia, I think, is, they're a little more righty heavy, and, they're up there to do damage. So I do think we're going to have a good counter to that, though. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be fun, and I actually enjoy Tony. He's one of the few coaches that I can tolerate. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. I'm always excited to sit down and look at hitters, for me, and how can we dissect them? How can we attack them game 1, game 2, game 3?
You guys have always had the next pitch, next moment sort of mentality. How much do you have to guard against them getting kind of ahead of their skis a little bit after that big series win? I'm sure a lot of people patting them on their backs, congratulating them, but that's just one of 8 series. How much do you have to guard against that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we made practice really hard this week. We were in double days, to be honest with you, because we're on spring break. So I'm like, woohoo, happy spring break. But we put some chaos defensively for them. And not that Georgia is somebody that runs a whole lot, but there could be some, things that happen from an offensive schematic that they do. And so we made sure that we kind of push them, because I want the games to always feel easy, right, and just slower than really practice is. So and then I think just honestly communicating with them, like, hey, like, you have a choice, like, here it is, like, you guys are grown-ups here, you want to be treated like adults, like, come out ready to go on Friday. Are you looking, as you're coaching, say, the Arkansas series, are you so focused on the game that you're worried about the game, or do you notice little moments where, how is so-and-so reacting to this bad thing that happened, or how is this person acting with this going on? Yeah, I mean, I feel like a little bit of both. Like, I am good and bad, sometimes fully engaged in where we're at right now, but there are moments where I'm like, okay, how is she going to respond to that? Like, how is she going to take that out to the field? Like, how is this going? How is, how is, so-and-so going to pitch on Saturday, and then can they come back on Sunday? Like, I think all of those are growing moments that it's going to help us, like me, be able to kind of put the pieces together of, like, what we're going to look like. All right, so the Aggies and the Georgia Bulldogs this weekend, 5 p.m. on Friday,
5 p.m. on Saturday, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Currently, reserved seats are sold out for the Friday and Saturday games. Very limited reserved seats on Sunday, but general admission, there's plenty of that. There's plenty of room to come out and support the Aggies this weekend. It's a good thing to say when there's reserved seats sold out. That's getting us pretty pumped up. And then down the road, it's a couple weeks away. Tennessee, right now, number 4 team in the nation, comes here at the end of the month, and then following that, Mississippi State, a super regional team as well. So a lot of opportunities to watch your Aggies get after it at Davis this coming couple weeks. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, and hope to hear everybody out at Davis Diamond this weekend.
All right, that is our head coach, Trisha Ford, and for Rylen Wiggins, Amari Harper for joining us, and for our producer, Austin Wolkin, back in Jefferson City, and for Kevin Menchow, this is Matt Simon, and we will be back with the final edition of the Aggie Softball Hour at the end of April, April the 26th, so right before the Aggies' last home SEC series against the Missouri Tigers will be our final episode of that show. But as always, you can follow Aggie Softball all season long on our social channels and on the radio as well. Catch us on Friday night. So again, Georgia at 5 o'clock on Friday, 5 o'clock on Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday. Everybody, appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. The Aggie Baseball Hour is coming up next here at Rudy's. Jim Schlossnagle is walking in as we speak, so we will be set to go with that in just a few minutes. Everybody have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on Friday night at Davis Diamond. This has been Aggie Softball from Learfield.